Hey everyone, it's the interview queen Alicia Tu, and you are watching Counting Out with Mike and Tyler.
Joining us today, we have the former two-time Knockouts Impact Wrestling champion, the one and only Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna, thank you so much for doing this with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
So before we get into everything Impact Wrestling related here, I just want to say big congratulations on your recent wedding. Very exciting stuff. Great way to end the year. Were we close to seeing that wedding happen inside of an Impact Wrestling ring, maybe?
Absolutely not. I think that if he would have proposed or anything like that relating to wrestling, I wouldn't have said no because I love him, but I would have cringed on the inside.
I mean, it could have been a great way to main event Hard to Kill on Friday, January the 13th. I don't know.
Oh, I don't know. Our characters are very different from each other. So I think for the foreseeable future, we will not see Steve Macklin and Deonna Purrazzo together on Impact.
That's all right. That's all right for now. Maybe down the road we could see that, because I think that would be an amazing boost there. I want to talk a little bit just about your year and about what's going on in Impact Wrestling right now. A lot of exciting things going on. And let's start off with the big event coming up, Hard to Kill, Friday, January the 13th. As of our recording right now, we don't have a match announced for you yet, but I would love to talk a little bit about the card here. One of the biggest matches on the card is somebody that you have a lot of history with, and that would be one Mickie James, that she's putting her last rodeo one more round here against Jordynne Grace for the Knockouts Championship. I'd love to talk about Mickie a little bit and just how important she's been to your career with all these legendary matches that you guys have had over the last year.
Yeah, I think, I get asked this all the time, just because Mickey's so like polarizing, right? She's been wrestling 20 plus years. She's done it all. And I think that having someone with that experience, and I was actually talking to her the other day and I said, if you give someone advice or you say, I like this better, or what about this? And we tweak this, like, how could I ever argue that you're wrong? The experience is there and is proof itself that it works. And I can't ever tell you, no, you're wrong, because you've been there, you've done it, you've been successful, you've made money. So having that kind of leader in the locker room, I think for me has been game changing. But I think for everyone in our Knockouts division, in our Knockouts locker room, can learn something when they're in the ring with Mickie, sitting in the back, just shooting the shit with Mickie, we're all gaining valuable professional and life experience from being around someone like Mickie James. So it's, like I said, been game changing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only just getting that advice backstage, but actually being in the ring with her. What's the biggest takeaway that you've gotten personally from all of your incredible matches with Mickie?
I think that, and again, this is a similar question I get asked a lot. It's just that she's done everything, right? So the important little details of the storytelling that she thinks are like, this is key to what we're doing, has been game changing for me, and has just changed my mind of what I think is important. And I've really learned how to like hone in on the storytelling and not necessarily think of like, what big moves can I do and what is going to get people talking. It's like the story is going to get people talking. The story is what got us to be the first ever Knockouts World Championship pay-per-view main event. The story, not the Mickie DDT, not the Fujiwara armbar. The story and the hatred between the two of us. So I think picking her brain has been the most interesting for me to learn from of what is the best story we can tell and how do we get to what our end goal is, and keep it coherent and allow people to follow along.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that a lot. And with Mickie on her last rodeo, the next person that beats her is going to essentially end it for her. How big is that for that roster? We saw you take a shot at it. We've seen everybody on that roster want to step up. How big of a boost would that be for somebody's career to be the one?
I think that would be career defining. I think if Tasha Steele says I'm the greatest who beat the greatest, right? She beat Mickie James for the Knockouts World Championship. But I think that that's been game changing for Tasha. It kind of leveled her up a little bit. The person who gets to say I retired Mickie James, I mean, what else could you do? Like, what bigger thing is there to do besides win the Knockouts World Championship, which after Hard to Kill you might have the opportunity to do, but you're going to retire her? That in itself is just an amazing feat. So I think that it's made our entire division like work harder and like level up and just like, what more can I bring to the table, because I want to be the one.
Absolutely. I want to keep on this theme of exciting things that Impact Wrestling is doing. It's something that I'm personally excited for. Impact Wrestling coming back over to our home country of Canada, coming to Windsor for the Sacrifice event March 24th, and then the TV tapings on the 25th. How excited are you to get back over here and do some work over in the Canadian side of the border?
I'm so excited. I haven't been to Canada since I think 2000 and either late 17 or early 2018. So it's been a very long time for me. And I've never got to tour internationally with Impact yet. So I think that this is a really great place to start. Everyone talks so highly about the shows that Impact has put on in Canada in the past, the fan interaction that you guys have, how much you all love Impact. So I'm really, really excited.
Yeah, and as I'm watching, the tickets are flying out the window. So there's definitely a lot of buzz coming over here. What are some of your favorite moments from your own career working on the Canadian side of the border here?
Oh, I traveled, me and my trainer, Damian Adams, traveled from Jersey. So it's only about maybe 7 hours up to Toronto. And we went for a Rip Rogers seminar at Battle Arts.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
And I got to wrestle, and I've done it before, but I got to wrestle Damian in an hour-long match for the RIP seminar. And it was really cool because I hadn't met Santino before. He was there. His daughter, Bianca, who is now in NXT and thriving, was there, and I got to meet her before her wrestling career even started. So I have some really great memories of just going up there and wrestling. I wrestled for Destiny quite a bit while I was up there too. And it's always just a great environment. I dreamt as a kid that I wanted to be Canadian. I wanted to be a Heart. I wanted to train at the Dungeon. I was so jealous that I was American and not Canadian. So the first time I got to go for that RIP seminar was really, really a big deal for me.
Well, we will happily take you as an adopted Canadian. No problem at all. We're pretty loving over here. So to hear that, we'll definitely be on your side when you return over here. And from a personal standpoint, you mentioned working with companies like Destiny and stuff. I'd love to see you getting there with a great local talent, Alexia Nicole. I think she's just fantastic. I think you guys would really tear it down. So Impact Wrestling, make it happen in Windsor, guys. Come on. I want to keep on the Canadian train here, and I want to talk about one Mr. Josh Alexander and just the incredible year that he is having. What is it about Josh, like for you, like to just sit back and watch him? How incredible has it been to watch his title run for you guys?
Oh, Josh is one of my favorite wrestlers in the entire world. And then also one of my favorite humans. But just to watch, like, again, what he thinks is important, he can just go out there and just do it and not have any second thoughts or anything planned. Like, he is just a wrestler's wrestler, right up my alley. And I'm in awe by all of the matches that he's had. And, he just went an hour with Mike Bailey, like, that, what I mean? So I think that anyone that wants to be the world champion, aspires to be the world champion, has huge shoes to fill, because Josh has just taken this world championship reign and gone above and beyond and ran with it. So I'm really excited to see what happens with Bully Ray at Hard to Kill, and then who's going to challenge him after. I'm excited to see who dethrones him, because again, it's big shoes to fill, and what is that person then going to do with it?
Absolutely. And, the Canadian pride for us, we love watching Josh, especially with Speedball tear it down. That was really awesome to see. But that's what I love about Impact Wrestling, though. you're not seeing these hour-long matches on television, especially, let alone on pay-per-views and stuff. Impact is such a great alternative to a lot of other wrestling. I think they're putting on the greatest weekly shows, and a great example of that was just a couple weeks ago with that amazing sketch that Deonna and EY did together. Like, when you're watching that, like, what are your opinions on watching that segment? Because I thought it was one of the best things of the year in professional wrestling.
Yeah, I really think that Impact does a really great job of introducing people and then writing people off, right? We saw Deonna kind of kill EY, right? But that's not just what Violent by Design was. EY has been, not the heart and soul, because that's someone else's thing, right? But like the heart and soul of Impact Wrestling for 20 years, right? Like, so I think that for them to do him justice all these years and then to write him off in a way that is now building somebody else is what Impact does great. Great debuts for people, but then also really thoughtful ways of saying, like, you did what you needed to do here. You're putting the guy over on the way out, and now best of luck. So I think that it was incredible. I think Impact does really great all across the board in any genre of wrestling, whether it's the serious Violent by Design stuff, whether it's the serious Josh Alexander, multiple times he's done hour-long matches on television, whether it's giving the knockouts another platform for main event pay-per-view matches, for main event television matches, 20 plus minute matches, multiple women segments. I mean, there's just something for everyone in what we do. So it's really exciting to see it. People are giving us a chance again and really investing in what Impact Wrestling is doing.
Absolutely. And this is the best time for people to jump back on that Impact bandwagon, because without a question, it is the greatest weekly television show in professional wrestling right now. And you got to have a lot of fun stuff and a lot of big moments this year too. And I think the one that everybody talks about the most is probably your humongous ladder bump at the Queen of the Mountain match. First of all, how amazing was it for you guys to get that opportunity to bring the Queen of the Mountain to Impact Wrestling, the return of that match? And second of all, what's going through your mind when you're up that high and you're about to take that tumble? Because my God, that was a hell of a bump.
I think when they announced and told all of us you're going to be in a Queen of the Mountain match, it was like, what the heck? I don't even know what that is. Like, and there's so many rules and things like that. But I think once, they kind of broke it down for all of us girls, we made a group chat. We constantly were talking about, what if we did this? And okay, so how does the rules work with this? And just really tried to understand the concept first. And then, talk about ideas, all these things. And someone had asked, like, oh, so D and Chelsea, how do you feel about going off the ladder through a table? And I think we all just thought it was like a joke. And we were like, oh yeah, that'd be great. And then we get there and they're like setting up the ladder to see where it needs to go to fall. And I was like, if I just don't think about it, it'll be fine. And then Chelsea climbs up and I climb up right after her. And we're supposed to be like yelling at each other, like, no, you're not going to do it. I'm going to do it. Are they going to work together or are they going to turn on each other? We weren't a tag team yet. And Chelsea said to me, like, D, you need to come up one more rung. And I guess I had just like blacked out and been like, okay, so I climb up one more rung. And she says, you looked at me in the eyes, dead in my eyes, and said, I'm scared. And then we fell. I don't know what was going through my mind because I don't remember that. But I remember hitting the floor and being like, we're okay. I'm alive. And then I was like sobbing on the floor.
I think it's so funny that in your group chat, it was just like, you guys are doing this. Like, what does that say about you and Chelsea? Like, are you guys like the crazy ones or something that it's just like, oh yeah, they'll just do it. No problem.
I am the opposite of a crazy wrestler. I like my feet on the ground. I think that in hindsight, it just really worked. And, then we started to establish me and Chelsea being VXT, becoming a tag team, or Vexed, becoming a tag team. And going from there. So I think that moment kind of really solidified us as like, oh, they're a unit. And we already are a unit, right? Because she was my matron of honor. She is my best friend in the whole world. We spend all of our days together, right? But on television, we hadn't really told that story yet. So it was, I think, again, it just solidified like, oh, they're a package deal and they do everything together. And after the pay-per-view, when we were kind of scrolling through Twitter and saw some GIFs and videos, there was a lot of people with like the GIF. Now the movie escapes my brain. Where the two girls are holding hands and they drive off the
Thelma and Louise.
Yes, and how that was me and Chelsea. And honestly, like it's so symbolic of our wrestling careers until this point, what's happened to us in other places, and yeah, just we're the girls that are ride or die, and we're gonna hold hands and we're gonna drive off the cliff together. So I loved it. I think that's one of my favorite moments of my career thus far.
Oh, that's amazing. And, you know, from a personal standpoint for you, you must have had a blast getting to work with Chelsea, who's, like you just said, one of your best friends. Is that one of your career highlights, getting to tag with her and winning the gold? And
yeah, absolutely. We pushed so hard for VXT while we were in NXT to be a thing, for someone to believe in it, right? And it was talked about and tossed around a whole bunch of different times in NXT in Impact. And when it finally happened, it was just like a little bit of validation, a little bit of surrealness, and like then was like, oh wow, we're tag team champions and we did it together. And that's what we wanted. There's very few people, I think, in our entire industry who truly have a best friend who you spend every day with in real life, but then also get to work with and have each other's best interest in mind. And I feel very strongly about women's wrestling. If my friends succeed, then I succeed. It's not just about my success. It's watching them thrive too makes me so happy. And I feel like I thrive through them. And I think Chelsea's number one for me in that. And to be able to have those moments together, because our careers have just been separate and people didn't believe in us, and why would best friends be a tag team, and all these things that we were told. And then Impact was like, try it. And it was scary, and we didn't know what the hell we were doing half the time. We were learning as we went on television every week. But yeah, the highlight of my career is being by your side. And when we won the tag team championships, I took them from the ref and I handed one to her and I said, finally. And we just like kind of cried together for a second. And then it was like, okay, suck in, let's get a good picture. But that is our friendship.
That's amazing. That's amazing. As we're coming to the end here, I just have two very, very quick questions. I'm going to put you on the spot here. With the year 2022 coming to a pass, such a loaded roster in 2023, who are some people that we should be keeping an eye out for that Impact roster to step up this year?
Okay, already on our roster. Gotta say my husband, Steve Macklin, of course. I think we're just, every time we see him, it's like, oh, that's his breakout moment. No, that was his breakout moment. Just kidding, that was his breakout moment. But I really feel like 2023, his mindset has just changed. He knows what he wants. He's picking up steam, and I want to see him personally wrestle Josh for the title. I'm not going to say who I'd like to win, because that's a little biased, but we'll just throw that out there. And then I really want to see what Giselle Shaw can do. We've seen her kind of mix it up with Vex a little bit, kind of hop from tag team to tag team, but she's a phenomenal athlete. And I think that once she gets the opportunity to really shine, we're going to be blown away. So I want to keep my eyes on her.
She's my pick as well for next year. I saw her and Alexia Nicole tear the house down in Toronto a couple of weeks ago. It was a fantastic match. Last question for you before we let you on your way here. With all the amazing things that you've done in your career, what's just something that you look back on, it just makes you smile? It doesn't have to be your biggest accomplishment. Just for you personally, it's just like, that really makes me happy. That's cool. I got to do that.
If we're talking in terms of like impact, I think that last year we did Knockouts Knockdown, where I wrestled Masha Slamovich. And that was really full circle to me, and I look back at those pictures and I smile, because I was that talent without a job in 2014, and then in 2016 coming in, working in Knockouts Knockdown. And the first time I was 18 years old. Yeah, I wasn't 19 yet. Maybe I was 19. I was 19 years old. I was wrestling Brooke Tessmacher. It was my 8th ever professional wrestling match, and it was really, I was totally out of my league, right? And I know the feeling that those girls have when they come in for extra work, when they come in to do tryout matches, when they come in for Knockouts Knockdown, and the pressure it is. So that was the first thing that came to mind. Knockouts Knockdown last year, getting to be the Knockouts world champion on the other end of that, and watch these girls thrive.
Awesome. Awesome. I love to hear that. And you guys got to make sure to tune in to Hard to Kill Friday, January the 13th. And of course, Impact Wrestling coming back with Sacrifice to Windsor, Ontario on the 24th and 25th of March. Deonna, thank you so much for the time. When you get over to Windsor, we got a poutine and a cold beer with your name on it. All right.
Hell yeah. Thanks so much.
Well, we are.
Okay, that's enough here. I've been waiting too damn long to come in this show. I've been promised all summer. We are live, pals. Welcome to Canada Out with Steve, Stone Cold Steve Bourne, and his little minion, Tyler, on the Bill After Approved.
I was gonna say, make sure you hit the Bill After Approved first.
Yeah, Bill After Approved, Canada Out with Steve and his minion, Tyler. And unfortunately, Mike couldn't be here today.
I mean, is that unfortunate though? I don't know.
It is.
Yeah, I know.
It's
Mike,
always fun when 2-on-1 piles on Tyler.
yeah, that's usually the way it goes with anybody and Mike on the show. Steve, I'm glad we could finally make it happen. I felt like the world did not want us to record together for a long time, but here we are.
Yep.
And you've brought 2 lists to do this week.
Yeah, no, I've been waiting so long. I've piled 2 lists.
You probably got about 45 lists by the amount of time that we made you work.
Yeah, no freaking kidding.
I mean, to be fair, getting bumped for Eric Bischoff and Dory Funk, that's not the worst thing on the planet, right?
It's a bit of slap in the face, but you know what? I'll allow it.
Well, you're part of the Countdown family anyways, man. What's been going on, man? How's things going?
Things are going good. Work is work, and just excuse me, just enjoying some time off this week from work.
Beautiful.
Oh, excuse me.
There you go. That's all right. It's gonna be made you wait so long. The vocal cords are rusty.
Yeah, no freaking kidding. Just watching, trying to watch as much of the on-screen product as I can. Loving. It's been a while since we've talked, but I've been loving the stuff that Triple H has been doing.
Yeah,
since
me
he
too.
took over, and really trying to ignore the backstage BS going on in the AEW.
It's terrible. It's terrible. As we're recording this, we're not too far removed from Sammy Guevara and Andrade's backstage fight. Tony's got to get someone has to get that locker room in order. You know what I mean? Like and I'm kind of shocked too, like with all the veteran presence in the locker room,
especially with Danielson, Regal, and Jericho.
Yeah, and it sounds like Jericho was kind of backing Guevara up. It does sound like Guevara didn't do much from the physical standpoint in this fight. But yeah, I mean,
it's starting to sound more like Andrade's trying to get himself fired.
Yeah, exactly, right. And that it's not like that's a well-known secret. He's one of the guys that WWE reached out to. And at this point with Andrade, though, it's like I don't feel for this guy at all. He cried boo-boo in WWE and asked for his release and got it. Now he's crying boo-boo in AEW and asking for his release. Like, if I'm Tony Khan, I'm making this guy buy out of his contract.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. And I'd job him out on the way too.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, hell, if Marco Stunt was in the company, he'd be jobbing out to him at this point.
Yeah, 1,000%. But it's just like these guys, like you guys are adults. You know what I mean? Stay off Twitter. You look
especially Tony Khan,
right? Tony Khan, everybody. The only thing that Twitter should be used for is working angles. Like,
and that's what WWE uses a lot of their stuff for.
You want to see how Twitter should be used? Go back a couple weeks now and check out Van Landen and Isaiah Cross. And how we built up and how they've used Twitter to add more interest into their match for Barry Wrestling. Cheap plug, Barry Wrestling. Now that match is available on IWTV. But yeah, like that's how I want to see Twitter used. I want to see, good back and forth, storyline related. I don't give a shit about your backstage drama. I don't give a shit if Eddie Kingston's fat. I don't give a shit if Andrade wants to get fired and go to the WWE. Like, none of that helps build your company, and you need to build your audience. You are not, you're hovering around that 1 million views a week. And hey, you know what? That's a great number, but it should be better. At this point, it should be better.
Yeah. You've been on the air for 3 years and you haven't built your audience.
Yeah.
And with Discovery, with the amalgamation, Discovery Time Warner, they're going to look at that when they make their final decision about redoing, because their contract's up in a year.
Yeah. You
Because it
know,
was a 4-year deal with Time Warner.
everybody needs to take a look at Impact Wrestling. And Impact Wrestling's got their shit together. They're putting out a great show every week, and their locker room is united, and they all have a common goal. How does AEW not have a common goal to be better, to be an alternative? Like,
well, I think Eric Bischoff said it right though. Impact needs to get on a better network.
yeah, agreed. If Impact was on a bigger network, I think we'd be talking about them a lot more.
Yeah, but unfortunately, was it Access TV in the States, Fight Network up here?
Yeah, you can't find it.
Unfortunately, they're still a victim of the Carters.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's too bad, right? It's too bad because you got Josh Alexander having a great run. Honor No More has been a great angle. Like, I love
Moose has been doing his thing as one of the
Moose.
top heels in the bit, not just the company but the business.
Yeah, and it's a shame because nobody's getting to see that work, and we're pulling for Impact Wrestling. We like doing our media work for them as well. They're just like, we've done some media work for some other companies. We've done media work for AEW and now for Impact as well. And the difference of comparing the two is night and day. Impact has their shit together. They're on the point. If we reach out to them, we hear back from them, and I just like AEW has got to get their ducks in a row. They could be the best wrestling company if they wanted to be. They just it's children.
They've got the talent. And that's one of the problems is they have too much talent.
The locker room's too big. There's no direction right now.
Too many titles.
Too many titles. MJF has been fantastic, but is he a heel? Is he a face? Is he a heel? Is he a face?
He has gotten himself into fantastic shape.
He looks great. Yeah, he looks great. And you got to think they're gearing towards putting the belt on him soon, right?
Yeah, I was thinking maybe as early as Full Gear, but maybe as late as All Out.
See, I think
Double or Nothing.
I really think that they should have put the belt on Dragon instead of Moxley and had Dragon and MJF feud.
Yeah, but Dragon, he's kind of in that little predicament where he took over the title after CM Punk left.
Yeah, why not? Give him the hat trick, man. That would have been the third company.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, been there, done that.
Which is great. I think that's
did
so
it
funny.
ROH, did it WWE.
Which is hilarious also, right? But I don't want Moxley to lose again. That's my thing. Like Moxley, I think, is doing fantastic work, and he's I think he might be the most over guy in the company.
Oh, he is. There's no doubt. He's him and MJF are the probably two most over guys. With Moxley, there's just one thing I'd like to see more from him: less blood. I mean, not every Moxley match needs to have blood.
Yeah, that's fair.
Because now it's lost its specialness.
I just feel with Moxley, like he just feels so different and so fresh than anything in wrestling. Like he's just got this aura about him right now that I think is I'm really digging it.
He's kind of broken away a little bit from Stone Cold John Moxley.
Yeah. From
about a year or so ago, where pretty much anything Austin did, he tried to do. But he's, like I said, I honestly don't think he needs to be in a faction. I want to see him get away from Blackpool Combat Club.
Yeah, me too. I don't think he fits. He doesn't fit it.
No. I mean, Wheeler, Utah, or whatever. Wheeler, Utah.
Yeah.
I don't think he's ready for that spotlight yet. When he's with Moxley, Danielson, and he's facing MJF, to me, he feels out of place.
A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. He's incredibly talented, but yeah, I just think it might be too soon. I don't think they built him up enough. When you're sitting there hanging out with Trent and Chuck and Orange Cassidy, and no knock to those guys, but they're a different part of that show. They're a comedy aspect of the show.
Yeah.
And they put on great matches, but you can't just go from that and then all of a sudden be with Danielson, Moxley, Cesaro,
or Claudio.
Yeah, that's too big of a jump. You know what I mean? At least like with Jericho, what he's doing, he took all young guys. You know what I mean? Like Garcia and those other, I can't remember the other guys' names off the top of my head, but he took
Jericho
them.
Appreciation Society.
Yeah, like he took those guys though that were
Private Party. He got in there too, right?
Not Private Party. I can't remember their names now. They're Buffalo Boys as well. It's really going to piss me off because they're super talented. Either way, he took Garcia and the other two guys and put them with Hager and himself and now Guevara, right? Like that's easing them into that spot. They're still background players in a major faction, right?
Yeah.
But I don't. I love what Chris Jericho's doing right now too. Is this run as Ring of Honor champion? As we're recording this, he's still the Ring of Honor champion at least.
Yeah, and I think he will be until they try to get Ring of Honor a TV deal.
Yeah, I think so too. And you have this nice slow build going with Garcia. I think they're speeding it up a little bit too much right now. I'd still
do you think they merged the Pure and ROH title?
I mean,
down the road.
It depends what you're gonna do with ROH. If you're gonna keep them a separate brand, I would keep the titles separate because that is something different. And I love the Pure title. I love the rules behind it. If you're gonna keep doing this on weekly TV, then you got to get rid of some belts. So
yeah, well, that Atlantic
it's got to go. It's terrible.
That was useless from the beginning.
Yeah. We don't need,
because they were expecting to hear about the trios title, which came like a week later.
Yeah,
and then it's like this Atlantic title. Really?
I mean, you have the TNT title. Get rid of these TNT and TBS titles. Are garbage.
Yeah, the mid-card titles. I mean, the only time I ever actually gave a shit about the TNT titles with Cody and Brody.
Yeah, Darby too. Darby was a good champ. Miro was doing good stuff with it, but I mean,
since then it's gone on Wardlow to die.
Yeah, and you don't need a TNT title and a Pacific title either.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. You don't need them all. You don't need I don't know, man. I'm fine with the 6-man title.
You've only got 3 hours of television a week.
Well, that's it, right? That's it. Plus your darks and your whatevers and
your dark and evolution or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Too many belts in wrestling in general. I think every company needs to cut back about 2 or 3 titles. But
who knows what's going to happen with WWE if they just make the one give Roman one title,
which I'm totally fine with.
Or like they give they amalgamate the titles and just one title for Roman to wear and one title for the Usos.
I hope they do that. Especially with the tag team titles. At least I get it. If you want to split the world titles again, okay, I get it.
USA and Fox wants to have their own champions.
Yeah, and that's fair. Unless unless Roman's actually going to show up and do both shows, which he's not right now. He's taking some time off, which is cool.
He'll be on as if we're recording this on a Friday. He'll be on the season premiere tonight. And he'll be on the season premiere of Raw on Monday as well.
Yeah, and that's great. Use the guy. He's setting boundaries. He's
the most
records.
over guy in the business right now.
Yeah, he's got to be up there. The Shield is kind of just taking over the wrestling world in general.
Yeah.
Right.
10 years ago this year.
Yeah, man. When we did our greatest faction list, that's something I definitely thought about of the impact that group had. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sure.
I mean, like I said, the Shield will probably could go down as the greatest faction of all time.
I put them at a strong number 2. For me, it's hard to beat the 4 Horsemen, the original 4 Horsemen, but that could be a lot more nostalgia on my part as well now too, right? If you're
exactly, yeah.
But I mean, Flair, Arn, Tully, like those guys.
Who do you consider, Ole or Wyndham?
I go Ole personally for that original one.
Yeah.
But
the greatest
Wyndham,
horseman is with Wyndham.
I think so. Yeah, Wyndham. Luger was a good horseman too back in the day. A lot of people shy on Luger. He held his own though. If you go back and watch some of his horseman stuff, he had good stuff with Nikita Koloff he was doing. He held his own in those war game matches. They protected Luger in the horseman.
Yeah. Well, right? Flair knew what he had.
That's it. Flair knew how to work against Luger too.
Yeah. Well, the thing is with Luger, he had it's what Vince saw in him. He had the body of a superstar, the work rate of someone who's green as goosey.
I mean, Luger did have some good matches though. I think people are too hard on Luger for in the ring. I do. If you go back and watch him and Barry Windham, Great American Bash 91, him and Flair. But again, he had to be in there with those guys.
He had to be in there with the guys who could carry.
Yeah.
It was a lot like Cena in his early days.
Yeah. And then Cena figured it out and whatever.
When Cena did like the runs with Triple H and Shawn, that's when in 06, 07, that's when Cena really figured it out.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good comparison, actually. What do you think, man? 2 lists to go here. I want to kind of, we don't really do our hypothetical, and that was some good shooting the shit about wrestling there in general.
Yep.
But this week instead of the hypothetical, you've got a fun little thing for the listeners here. Why don't you tell us what you've done here? Because you've been listening to us from day one as well, correct?
That is correct. Yeah. Well, you and I have gone back for
We go back many
30 years.
30 years, give or take. We're old.
I'm gonna puke a little. Yeah, so I put a little fun list together of at least my favorite memorable moments of the top 7 counted out show.
Sweet, man. I'm excited to hear what some of your favorite moments are. And you know what? Let's make this a challenge too. If any of our listeners are listening out there and you guys want to leave a comment in the YouTube comments here, because we're really trying to grow our YouTube audience, let us know what some of your favorite counted out moments are, or leave us a review somewhere on social media.
Or your favorite guests.
Or favorite guests, exactly. Counted out moment, favorite interviews, whatever, man. We're ready to roll with it. We want to hear what you guys have to say. We're definitely trying to get more interactive with all of our people, and we really want to grow that YouTube audience. So please subscribe.
So the first thing I've got on here is the first show.
Show number 1.
Yeah, a little rough.
Yeah. I can't listen to it.
Yeah, but because I just remember it was just around when everything went to shit.
Yeah.
In late March 2020, and you sent me a link. It's like, yeah, I'm doing a wrestling counted list podcast. Like, okay, and then give a listen, and look where we are today.
Yeah, we've grown a little bit. I'll tell you a funny fact about our show. We actually weren't a COVID podcast. Mike and I started doing this right before COVID happened. We filmed 3 pilot episodes that have never seen the light of day, which I will release one day. Mike is begging me not to. They're even worse than our original show. But
save it for April 1st next year.
Yeah, there you go. And Mike went on vacation, and then the world shut down. Yeah. And then so I guess we officially became a COVID podcast, but we didn't originally intend to be a COVID podcast.
And then I've got the next one. This is probably a selfish pick, but I'm doing it anyways. Is March 16th, 2021. Getting drunk, the 3 of us on Austin 316 day.
That was such a fun show, and the 3 of us just got hammered. It was a WrestleMania list. Was it your Shawn Michaels list?
Shawn Michaels WrestleMania list, yes.
And I think we put an interview on that show as well.
Yeah. This is the guy who did was it Impact guy who did the really good Stu Hart?
Johnny Devine. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I had to pull that up first. Yeah, Johnny Devine. We spoke to him. And then we had your list. That was such a fun show, man. We got,
what do we call it? Getting Steve Bourne drunk?
Got Steve Bourne. That's it, man. And that's why you're Stone Cold Steve Bourne.
And so next one I got is coming off her interview with Dark Side of the Ring, Miss Billington.
Bronwyn. That was so good. And you know what? I'm so happy that interview happened, because Bronwyn is a friend of mine now. We speak often. We're talking to each other about our lives, about, we're motivating each other to continue to do better. And she is just the nicest human being on the planet. I cannot say enough good things about her. And what an honor it was. Like, her dad's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. That was so cool.
Her dad has been I'm basically a muse for a lot of guys. I mean, we all know one, but we're not going to say his name.
Yeah.
But hell, even Danielson to an extent.
Yeah, Davey Richards.
Yeah. Is she still living in the UK, or is she living out here?
She's in Calgary. Yeah, she's
in Calgary now. Okay.
Yeah, she's actually.
For some reason, I thought she still lived out there.
No, she's in Calgary, and she's doing some indie work with Dungeon Wrestling, which is Bret Hart's son's company. And there's another company, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but she's actually managing her cousins, who are Dynamite's nephews, I guess it would be. The Billington Bulldogs.
Dynamite Doll or something like that? Or?
Dynamite Doll, yeah. And they're the Billington Bulldogs, and they look fantastic in the ring. Great tag team.
Okay. Next one, this is where I wish Mike was here. It's when he got hammered and he wanted to, the American Dream.
Oh, that was our best Ric Flair Starrcade matches. Mike wanted to, what's that, your number 5?
22276. 4. Well, actually, I put. Okay, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 5. Yeah.
Number 5 spot, Mike wanting to titty fuck Dusty Rhodes.
Oh, sorry, number 4. This is
Not number 4. That's right. Sorry, Mike wanting to titty fuck Dusty Rhodes. That is probably the drunkest I think Mike has ever been on Counted Out.
I would say so.
I remember like finishing that show, and Mike doesn't even remember. Like, I don't think Mike remembers a lot about that show, to be honest. That is a
he's probably got good reason to.
That was an iconic Counted Out moment. I don't know how that even came to be, but I respect the hell out of it. And I should.
I think he's talking about how like girls wanted Ric Flair, and you're like, and he was like, no, Dusty's pretty over with the ladies too.
And there it is.
One thing kind of really snowballed to another.
One thing snowballed, as it usually does on Counted Out, especially in those early days when we would get super hammered doing the show.
Well, yeah, nothing else to do.
Yeah, well, fair.
And so number 3 is Steph Kerr, Ginger being your first guest.
Yeah, love it. Your best European title champions, I believe.
Yep.
Yeah, the old Ginger. Yeah, he's a good one. We got to get him to come back on at some point too. We always talk about doing like a football list with him, but we always are. He's got 2 kids, and we work in restaurants, and you know how hard it is to get us to fucking record, man.
Yeah, preach. So next one that I've got is your 100th show and your interview with TJ Wilson, Tyson Kidd.
That was so fun. That was all thanks to Bronwyn as well. So
yeah, I figure that was her.
Big thanks to Bronwyn. We were actually planning. I'll tell you guys. I'll pull the curtain back. The original plan for the 100th show was to bring Bill Apter back because we love Uncle Bill, and he started doing work with Sportskeeda right around that time, and he was involved in this huge project, their year-end awards, and he unfortunately has had to reschedule, and we're still working on that. I'm going to reach back out to him again, but I was panicking. I was like, fuck, we just lost our 100th guest. It was like a week ahead of the show, and I was just venting to my friend Bronwyn. I was like, I don't know what to do, and she's like, let me message TJ. 5 minutes.
It's like I got to call Bill down the road.
That's it, right? It was 5 minutes later. I'm talking to TJ, and what a class act he was, man. And I like that I popped him by announcing him as the cat dad.
Yeah, he probably wasn't expecting that.
Yeah, that's when I knew things were gonna go well.
And number 1 is guy you just spoke about, Bill Apter. The best interview you guys have done.
Now you're going to get heat with Mike, and I know you made this list a while ago, but Mike is all on the Eric Bischoff train now.
The Bischoff one, Bischoff one is definitely up there as well.
Yeah, that was a cool
especially
moment.
That story about tricking his buddy in the
oh my god,
the makeup.
That might be the funniest story that's ever been told on Counted Out. When he's like, I went Joe Biden on her, I was dying. Like
it's like smelling the hair.
Yeah, Bischoff, he's such a cool guy, and Bill Apter, man, what an honor. And one day I'll release. I have some behind the scenes footage of Bill, and I don't usually record when we're not recording, but we were getting him to do a show bumper for us, and he gave us, this is Bill Apter. You're listening to Counted Out, the pretty standard one. And then he stopped and he was like, you know what? Like, I really enjoyed my time doing the show with you guys. I enjoy you guys. You're great hosts. Can I endorse your show? And I was like, yeah,
no,
yes, sir. No, you know what? We're okay. Thanks.
We're good. Thanks.
He told me, and I do have it recorded, so I'm not lying. And I'll play it one day. Is that I've only ever done this for Ricky Morton and one other podcast that escapes my name right now. And I was like, wow. And he sent me the little text message of the Bill Apter seal of approve and said we could use it. But yeah, that's still probably one of my favorite moments in all of Counted Out for sure.
Yeah, so that's my little top 7.
I enjoyed that
going into the summer.
I enjoyed that for sure. I will put a little honorable mention on that, just one, and it's one that just recently happened. And I really want you guys to go back in the archive because I think it kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. It was our interview with Jack Evans. I just had so much fun talking to Jack Evans. He was such a fun guy. And that's my little honorable mention right now.
Yeah, and obviously, Easy E himself as well.
Yeah, of course, Eric Bischoff, Mickey James. We've been very fortunate, especially this year.
Nikita
Koloff, Dory Funk Jr., which I haven't released as of airing yet, but I'm excited for that one.
And then Vashon.
That's right. That's right. And the cat, Ernest Miller.
Yeah. The cat one was interesting.
He's an interesting guy, man. We're still working on part 2. I'm still talking to him. So
there you go then.
But that's gonna be for the unreleased podcast that Jonah and I are gonna do one day when we retire from the podcasting business, when we do our tell-all podcast.
Exactly, yeah.
Because there's some stories. Yeah, followed by the book with the Eric Bischoff QR codes on it.
Exactly.
Oh, that was fun, man. I appreciated that a lot. And I'm really excited to get into the real list, though. The top 7 heel turns of all time. I've made a list as well because I love this topic, and I'm interested to see, because I like to think you and I are pretty similar wrestling minded. You might be the only person that I can think of, maybe you and Adam, content, who know more about wrestling than I do. We're pretty neck and neck. So I always love your list. I always am interested to see what you come up with. I got some deep cuts that I've got here as well. So, I mean, let's get into it, man. Hit me with the number 7.
There's always a plan B.
Wow, number 7. Okay.
Seth turning on the Shield.
Yeah, this is a big one. This is on my list as well. I did not have it in the 7 spot. I actually had it at my number 4 spot.
Yeah, no, it was between the 6 and 7. To me, you could interchangeable, but
the 7 spot's always the hardest on the list, man.
Oh, always is, yeah. But with no one saw this coming. Batista basically walked out of the company that night.
Yeah.
After realizing he's never gonna, he was promised he was going to be champion when he signed with the company in early 2014, late 2013. But the whole Punk thing and the Daniel Bryan things kind of morphed into the Daniel Bryan becoming champion and being put aside. And then they did the Evolution reunion.
Yeah.
Shield, and then they did the feud post WrestleMania with the Shield and Evolution.
And the Shield really ran over them.
Yeah, exactly. It was basically almost like DX versus Spirit Squad type.
Yeah, it was bad. They did that elimination match, and they eliminated all of them without losing a fall.
Exactly. And so Batista walked out. He had enough, and then they needed fresh blood in the Authority, and there's always a plan B.
Yeah,
the architect.
And he ran too, man. And look at him now, right? Like,
yeah, oh god, yeah.
That heel run,
one of the biggest heels in the company.
Well, because shortly after that, he went on to win Money in the Bank, right? And I love when guys hold that Money in the Bank contract. Like, to me, Seth was the last good Money in the Bank briefcase holder.
Yeah.
And I'd have to think maybe a little bit deeper on that, but he's the last guy to me that had that special moment. Yeah.
If you look back at it, Big E to an extent held it for a bit.
Yeah, for a couple months, for a few months. Yeah, I mean, but again, that moment was more.
The best two has still been Edge and Seth Rollins
and Dolph Ziggler.
Dolph. Yeah. Oh yeah, Dolph's cash in is still one of the loudest pops of all time.
Yeah, I think that Dolph is the second best cash in ever. I think Seth is number 1. In my opinion, I think that goes without saying, but that's all stems to that heel turn, right? So,
yep.
And then, of course, what he's continuously evolved into, right? He's like a modern day Chris Jericho. He's just on speeding it up. You know what I mean? The Messiah and whatever the hell he's doing now, and the architect,
Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker.
Yeah, right. It's crazy, and the architect, the Beast Slayer, the King Slayer. Seth freaking Rollins,
and it
all gets over.
Riddle, Seth fucking Rollins.
Yeah, that's it, right? And it all gets over. Seth is probably, I'd say, in the top 3 in that company right now.
Yeah, and when Becky comes back, is probably one of the second biggest baby face in the women's division. I mean, you got the power couple right there of pro wrestling.
100%. 100%. Good start, man. That's a high number 7. That's a big one. So I got to hear what's on this list now.
Number 6. When I say it, it's not going to mean much, but the actions after it were huge. And that's Hennig leaving the Four Horsemen and joining the NWO.
Wow. Okay. Good one. Good cut.
It was a shock to begin with when Henning came in because this was his first match in the company, wasn't it?
He did Bash at the Beach. 97, 98. He did Bash at the Beach in a tag match.
Yeah, he was teasing about his arm in the sling, and then
he'd been back for a little while. He did. He walked out on DDP against Scott Hall and somebody I can't remember, maybe Macho Man, I think, at Bash at the Beach. And then he'd kind of done like a little bit of stuff leading into War Games, and
then he turned on the Four Horsemen at War Games.
Was that Arn? Arn did the promo, right? My spot promo. Oh.
Yeah, and that which Kevin Nash brutally butchered.
Yeah.
And then he came in, and then just out of nowhere started. He basically leveled the Horsemen out. He had the weapons, and got. I think was it Flair? He hijacked Flair's head into the
cage
door. And got Mongo to give up, and then still did the thing that they did on Dusty's foot. They did on Flair's head.
Yeah, they slammed the cage door on him, right?
Which was one of the most violent things that WCW has ever done.
Yeah.
And so it's just that image of Henning turning on the Horseman and slamming Flair's head that, to me, is one of the best heel turns because no one saw that coming.
Yeah, I mean, this was a time
what the relationship was in the WWF at the time.
I think too, coming off of that Arn promo, the My Spot promo, it was a little shocking for sure. Looking back in hindsight, I mean, everybody was turning and joining the NWOs, so maybe in hindsight,
it was just a matter of time.
And the follow-up after, I felt like they kind of dropped the ball on this feud a little bit. I think they could have made it a lot bigger.
Oh, because they end up facing each other the next month.
I think they had a strap match or something. Maybe that might have been DDP.
Halloween Havoc.
They did something at Halloween Havoc and a little blow off at World War III, I think. But it was over pretty quick. Have even
touched after that until Starrcade.
Yeah, right. And by that time, what was this? So we're in 98. So that was what? 97. This would have been 97, right?
Yeah.
So it was Goldberg, Sting and Hogan, right? And
Hogan,
Flair fought. Nobody on the card.
Goldberg just debuted.
Goldberg had just debuted, and Henning fought DDP for the U.S. title.
Yeah. Great angle. Unfortunately, did nothing with it.
Yeah,
but the heel turn itself, though, was
the heel turn was good. That might hurt it, and one of the reasons why it didn't make my list, because that was part of my criteria. At least was the follow up after the heel turn. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more looking at just
at the moment.
The moment, yeah. Number 5 is when Shawn Michaels' face meets the Geritron 5000.
Great. This one was probably the hardest one I left off my list.
Really?
Yeah, this was the hardest one I left off my list.
Yeah, no, this is when, like I said, 2008, Shawn just retired Flair, had the thing with Batista with the fake knee, while Jericho believed Shawn was battling a knee injury.
I love that.
Once he realized that Shawn duped him, he said, I just come to realize what a low-down piece of garbage you really are. And then slammed his face in the...
What I love about this, too, is it changed Jericho as a person. You know what I mean? He, all of a sudden, he was Nick Bockwinkel. Like, he...
Well, he said he modeled that gimmick, or that character, after Nick Bockwinkel / what's his name? Javier Bardem from No Country for Old Men.
Okay. Yeah. I love this Jericho. It's one of the best Jerichos ever.
Outside of his first real run in WWE, this is my favorite version of Jericho.
I was a big fan of the list. I was a big fan of the list.
Oh, yeah.
You just made the list. I just thought that was so great.
And that's all, what's his name? Jimmy Jacobs.
Yeah, and you can hear that story in the archives of Counted Out 7 on YouTube. Subscribe, please.
But yeah, and which led up to probably, a lot of argue, the greatest one-on-one ladder match in WWE history.
With him and Shawn?
Him and Shawn at No Mercy.
Yeah, they had that great bloodbath.
Probably one of the best finishes for a ladder match, too.
Yeah, they did have a good finish.
The belt was unbuckled and they're both pulling.
Bloodbath at Great American Bash as well. They had the
Rebecca Hickenbottom taking a right cross.
Yeah, she took a stiff shot, and what was the other one too? The other one was
Well, they
Unforgiven,
which is their first time they touched. Yeah.
yeah. And look at that
And
though.
then
That was
Jericho comes
that was
in, takes Punk's spot in the scramble.
yeah. Well, that was the first time that they touched since July, right? Because they did the bash, and then Shawn was going to retire, and then they did unsanctioned. Yeah, great.
That was also one of the best angles probably the best angle WWE did in 2008.
Yeah, that's one of the best angles I think they've ever done in company history.
Yeah.
All right, man. You're off to a good start here. Off to a good start.
The Mega Powers explode.
Yeah, this is a good one too.
Savage turning on Hogan.
Anthony and I did a whole rundown of this on the Classic Match Classroom when we were doing that show. This is my childhood, so it's a fun one.
Yeah.
It did not make my list, however.
Really?
Yeah, my list is very different.
To me, the reason this had to be at least top 4 was this program was almost a year and a half in the making.
Yeah. Lust in your eyes, brother.
Yeah. And they got, let's say, it was probably one of the biggest angles of the 80s.
Yeah.
Biggest angles of wrestling at the time. I mean, it was the Mega Powers. I mean, they took out Andre, they took out DiBiase, and then there was that Saturday night's main event where Hogan didn't trust the medical professionals, and he thought he cost the Mega Powers a match with the Twin Towers. Bonus points for anyone who remembers who the Twin Towers were.
Ooh, I know that one. Leave it in the comments.
Yeah, exactly. Leave a message in the comments. Bonus point, who was their manager?
Ooh, great doctor with some style.
Yeah, what Jive Soul Bro.
That's right.
And then led to probably one of Hogan's best WrestleMania in ring matches of his career.
I'd agree with that. I think it might be his best one.
It's still funny though, is actually him and Warrior was actually surprisingly good too.
Him and Warrior was great. Him and Rock was great. Hogan had some good Mania matches.
Yeah, and I mean Hogan's in ring work is still probably very underrated.
100%.
His leg drop was crap, but
if you look at his stuff in Japan, it's totally different than what you're getting.
His stuff with Inoki in Japan, God rest Antonio Inoki.
Yeah.
His stuff with Inoki was really good.
Yeah, it was very, very good. Absolutely. So were we inside the top 3 here?
Yep, number 3 is Jannetty trying to run away from Shawn through a plate glass window.
I actually have this as my number 3 as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jannetty shouldn't be such a coward.
Yeah, you ran. It's like, well, I knew he was going to do that.
Bobby Heenan was never wrong.
Just gold. Just absolute gold.
He's the star of that segment to me.
Yeah, it's like, boom, I knew he was going to. Like, one isn't right without the other. Boom, I knew he was going to do that.
Yeah. See that? Jannetty tried to jump through the window. He was so good.
And then Jannetty seriously got fucked up by the glass, too.
Yeah, he got, and then he got suspended or he got fired after this.
He got fired because that was supposed to lead into WrestleMania.
Yeah, what could have been that feud?
Yeah,
we actually did that on Classic Match Classroom as well to the Royal Rumble match, and just the disappointments that are Marty in that one.
Yeah, unfortunately.
But what a moment! And this is, of course, what catapulted Shawn Michaels to what we know today. Like, you could have put this at your number 1 just based on what it did for Shawn, and I wouldn't argue it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The only reason I didn't do anything else is because Jannetty unfortunately turned out to be a disaster.
Yeah.
And I mean, he won 1 or 2 Intercontinental titles afterwards, but
but
that was
not anything what it should have been.
No. Number 2 led to the match in front of 93,000 plus. Andre turning on Hogan.
Really? Wow.
On Piper's Pit.
Wow, I'm shocked.
Andre's only ever true heel run.
Yeah, and it was a great turn too. That Piper's Pit is legendary.
Again, Andre gets this little award for being quote unquote undefeated. Looks at Hogan's big award, goes out, comes back next with Heenan a few minutes later.
Yeah,
rips Hogan's shirt down.
Rowdy Piper
cross, cuts Hogan's chest with his nail.
Piper's line.
Hogan's jaw's just shaking.
Yeah, and Piper, you're bleeding. Hulk, you're bleeding.
Yeah,
strong shit, man.
Yeah, I mean that's probably the first big true big heel turn when Vince Jr. took over.
Well, not exactly, but we'll get to that when I give you my little list.
Okay, so you're going to do some real deep cuts.
I got some deep cuts, yeah.
And number one is, which side is he on?
Yeah, this is my number one as well. Hulk Hogan
Hogan joining the NWO.
Yeah, but whose side is he on? You know what? And I hate that people shit on Bobby Heenan for saying that.
Because Heenan never trusted Hogan from day one.
Heenan called it.
Just continuing his thing.
100%. And if people are like, Heenan ruined the surprise. No, you're just not a wrestling fan then. You've never listened to Bobby Heenan, clearly. Heenan was calling Hogan a heel in the 80s, man.
Exactly. I mean, look at WrestleMania 4 when he took out DiBiase.
Yeah. Yeah, this is the... Oh, excuse me. This is a clear-cut number one. There's not a question in my mind. This changed the wrestling business. It catapulted WCW to a whole new level that it had never seen before, and it took numbers to wrestling that we haven't seen since. Between this and Steve Austin,
I still have an NWO shirt I wear regularly.
Me too.
So that's my list. Do you want me to run through some honorable mentions quickly?
Well, let me give you what I had as my 7, and then we'll see what we overlap on and some honorable mentions as well. My number 7, I went really back and forth on between two. The one I left off the list was Kevin Steen turning on El Generico in Ring of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
And the one I went with was the Four Horsemen turning on Sting. With that,
that's on my honorable mentions.
That Ole Anderson promo is so good.
Yeah.
I also had Ciampa turning on Gargano.
Yeah, that's on my honorable mentions.
I thought that was a great one. That was my number 6. My number 5 is the one that I alluded to a couple minutes ago. The first real big heel turn that I can think of for Vince, Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff turning on Hulk Hogan.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I love this turn. Orndorff was fantastic, and Orndorff was the guy on standby if Andre couldn't go at Mania 3.
Yeah.
So this one was really big for me. Our number 3 was the same, Shawn Michaels turning on Marty. Our number 1 was the same, Hogan turning on the NWO. But my number 2, I think, is a big one that you might not have thought about. And I have Michael P.S. Hayes turning on Kerry Von Erich and the Freebirds starting their war with the Von Erichs.
Didn't have that one.
That one changed the business too. And that set the Texas territory on fire. Michael Hayes slamming that cage door on Kerry Von Erich's head. Terry Gordy slamming the cage door on Kerry Von Erich's head. Started a massive riot, and it changed the wrestling business as well. That
especially
was
in the South. Yeah,
100%. That was my number 2. I just think that's such a huge moment in professional wrestling history.
Yeah. Summoned by. There's no doubt. You asked fans, say maybe about 5-10 years older than us, from Texas, the greatest feud they've ever seen was the Von Erichs versus the Freebirds.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the one episode of Classic Match Classroom we didn't get to that I wish we did. I had the build for it. We just ran out of time.
So some of my honorable mentions is Brett, the slow gradual heel turn in 97.
Yep, I had that one as well.
MJF turning on Cody.
That was a good turn. I thought they rushed it though.
Yeah, well, I think everybody knew it was coming, so
yeah.
But it was still, and it fit in perfectly with MJF's character.
100%. I just feel like they rushed that whole feud.
Yeah, so do I. But that was AEW before they really knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
Triple H turning on X-Pac at WrestleMania 15.
Okay, that was a good heel turn.
The match against Shane McMahon.
Yep.
Adam Cole turning on the Undisputed Era.
Okay, yeah, I didn't think about that one.
Yeah, with the super kick
to
Kyle
O'Reilly. That was a good one. I like that one.
The Birth of the Authority, where Triple H pedigreed Daniel Bryan at SummerSlam 2013.
Yeah, not bad at all.
An Impact one here, Devon joining Aces of Eights.
Oh, I like that one too. Nice deep cut on that.
Yeah, because again, that was one no one saw coming.
Yeah.
The breakup of Strike Force.
Hey, that's a good one too. I always like that angle. I thought it was done well.
Still going back to the 80s, Fuji turning on Demolition.
Yeah, good one as well.
Owen Hart kicks Brett's leg out from his leg.
I had that on my honorables as well.
The Rock joining the corporation in '98.
Yeah, that was a great heel turn, actually.
Yeah, because again, no one saw it coming.
Mm-hmm.
And the final one I've got is Christian turning on Edge in summer '01.
I was at that event.
Was that the Raw in Toronto?
That was the Raw in Toronto, yeah.
Because they did Raw and SmackDown in Toronto back to back.
They did back-to-back nights. Yeah, that was two of my favorite tapings I went to. We got the Christian turn on that first night, and then the second night we got Austin and RVD on SmackDown.
Yeah, nice little.
What did I have? I had a deep cut. Larry Zbyszko turning on Bruno Sammartino.
Yep.
CM Punk turning on The Rock. I thought that was done really well.
Yeah, Raw 1000.
Yeah. Stephanie McMahon turning on Vince McMahon, joining up with Triple H.
Armageddon, yep.
And Vince revealing himself as the higher power. I just made it up right now on the spot. It would be Austin, just for the line.
All along.
But you know, I don't dislike your list at all, man. A couple little differences here and there, but our top couple were pretty much in sync there. I mean, you can't argue really any of those heel turns. Period.
No.
Like, you know, they all make a strong case that we talked about there. I really like that. I really want to shine on that Steen and Generico turn as well, even though it didn't make either one of our lists. That Ring of Honor feud was incredible. You know what I mean?
That's what I think got Triple H looking at both of them.
Yeah. Another one we didn't talk about too was Shawn turning on Hogan. That was a well done heel turn as well.
Oh God, yeah. It was only for a month.
Yeah.
To set up SummerSlam, but that was Shawn's.
It was a fun month. Absolutely a fun
Who's
month.
your daddy, Montreal?
Mike was at that promo too, so that's a big favorite for his.
Admit, I fell for it too.
Yeah, I popped. He got it.
Brett's music, because they just announced Brett was working on the DVD with the company.
That's
right.
right.
Figured out Brett's with the company, he's going to be back on TV.
Well, and by the time that build was done, it was like Shawn versus Brett was like what everyone thought. You know what I mean? Like no one cared about Hogan. Like Shawn was just talking about Brett all the time.
Yeah, but I still love that. Who's your daddy, Montreal?
Yeah, that was done well, and as was your list, both lists. I really appreciate you taking the time and going through memory lane on Count It Out. That was a lot of fun for me. And like I said, if you guys want to leave some of your favorite moments, drop them in the comments here. We want to get more interactive. Really pushing the YouTube hard, guys. We really want to hit some high subscriber numbers. Keep bringing out the best content that we can bring. We've been really fortunate the last couple months with some incredible guests, and we're going to keep working hard to get more for you guys. We've got some more stuff on the horizon, so please subscribe and keep checking it out.
Yeah. I don't have anything else. You want to take her home?
No, you know what? You opened up the show. You take it home too, man.
Okay. On behalf of Stone Cold Steve Bourne, Tyler, and the absent Mike, you guys have been counted out.
Cheers.